I've been hearing lately from some people that have been pretty upset about world affairs right now. And usually when people write to me, they're saying these things that are going on in the world, it's driving me down into a black hole. And I'm getting depressed, have feelings of anxiety. Just feels like the world's out of control, and then my life is out of control because of that. So today I'd like to talk about what we can do. And I'd want to put out there that we don't fall into despair. Now, if we sit down and we watch the evening news, or you get online and you go to any of the major news stations, pretty soon you're going to be fairly convinced that it's the end of the world is almost here. There is really atrocious stuff being reported on the news. And what happens is that we intake that media, and there's nowhere for that energy to go. So I've taken in this information, but I feel helpless. And because I feel helpless, I soon feel hopeless. And the result is that I start to generate a lot of inner stress. As I do that, that's actually bad for me, physically bad for me. That is degrading my physical self, my emotional self. So here's the cycle. Every day we intake this media, it comes in and it degrades us. And we take a hit. And we take the media in and we take a hit over and over and over. Now, I'm not suggesting that we close our eyes to the world, but I am suggesting that we take a close look and we know that there are a million things going on in the world right now. And there are a million things that could be reported on those news stations. There, right now, in this moment, somebody is doing something amazing and miraculous that is helping so many people. Right now, something terrible and atrocious is happening. And in the next moment, equally wonderful and equally horrible things are happening all over the world, all the time. Now stop and take a look at your media. When we look at our media, we're going to see that every media outlet is kind of reporting the same thing. So things have been cherry-picked out so that we're just being fed a very certain diet. A very narrow band is being reported to us of what's actually happening in the world. So, number one, question our media. And as we look at our media, say, okay, this is just a tiny little slice. And some people, for whatever reasons they have, are choosing this slice to feed to me. Do I want to be intaking that slice that they feel is the only important stuff that I hear about? Little sketchy, right? Number two, thinking about if I am going to be using my time and energy to intake this media, what is happening with that? What am I doing with that? Because if I sit and I watch all these horrible things that are happening and it's just stressing me out, is that a worthy activity? Is it a worthwhile activity? And I would argue it, I would suggest that unless we can turn that energy into action, it's not really helpful to us. The way I try to think of it is that we have a circle of influence around us. And all of us have a different circle of influence. It's easy to think that that person that has the 5 million subscriber YouTube channel and the presidents and all these people, they have a much bigger circle of influence. Maybe true. I've talked about this before. But each of us has a circle of influence. And so, what can I do? What can I turn into action? If I intake media and it just sits inside of me, it's just damaging me. If I intake media and I turn it into action, wow, now it's doing some good. And so we need to take that energy that's coming into us and turn it into something. Turn it into something that's positive and that's going to be doing good for the world. When we do that, we're going to be bettering ourselves. We're going to be bettering the world. We're going to be building our skills. Win-win for everybody. Often what this means, though, is that I take a look at, should I be watching NBC or Fox or these giant conglomerate medias that are reporting things that largely most of us cannot do anything about? Or can I turn my eye more to looking at that a little bit, but mostly looking at a local news source? Or a news source that's reporting something specific to my interests and my ability to make change. Maybe that change is going to be donating money. Maybe that change is going to mean I am going to get some training in medicine or in some other skill and go to the place where I can actually help people out. Maybe it just means that I'm going to be cognizant of my circle of influence. Maybe that's only 3 people I socialize with. Maybe that's how small my circle of influence is. But I'm going to use that circle of influence to try to reduce fear, to try to reduce anxiety and panic, and to replace that with positivity, to replace that with actionable positivity. So that when I'm talking to that, one of those 3 people, they're going to be lifted up a little bit, made to feel like they have more ability to create action, and then their sphere of influence, their circle of influence, they're going to be able to affect their circle of influence. You see how this works? So even if it's just 3 people I interact with, each of them, they also have a circle of influence. And that can spread out. That, I think, is what we need to do here. Again, if that media is just coming in and it's just harming you, take the time to question it. If you can take actionable steps, then you're doing something with that energy. That's what we all need to do right now. If we're just sitting in stress, we're just harming ourselves. If we can take steps, if we can make a difference, and remember that all we have to do is make a difference in that one other person around us, one of those 3 people, maybe all 3 of them, and then it's going to spread out. But maybe you have a skill that can really change the world in a bigger way. Maybe it's your art that you're going to use in a hopeful way. Maybe it's that you can write well and you're going to write a book that's going to change lives. Maybe it's music and you're going to create songs that lift people up, inspire them to positive action. What is your gift and how can you use it right now in an actionable way to make positive change? This is what we all need to do right now. It's really important because the world is changing in powerful ways, and the world is in a place where small mistakes by just a few people could have enormous effects on all of us. So right now, this is our chance. This is our time. Every single one of us. None of us can escape this responsibility to step out and give your gift to the world. It is essential. I know you have one. I know it's powerful. It's time to give it. Thank you for watching, my friends. Share in the comments below where you've battled with this intake of media, how it's affected you. Share if you've turned that away, if you've turned that around in some way, how you've done that, and especially, what is your gift? How could you give it out to the world? And down there in the comments, when you see other people sharing their gifts, give them ideas. How could they take something? It might be somebody says, I don't have any gifts, I just do plumbing. How can that be used to change the world? because it can. All of us can do this. Can't wait to see the comments.